Hi, thank you so much for joining me for day 10 of Scraptember 2023, and today's prompt is to use multi-photos. So I've chosen to document a concert that I took my daughter to back in July. We went down to London to Hyde Park to see Billy Joel. This was her Christmas present. If you've watched me before, you'll know I'm creating an album of all the songs that he sung. Amelia, my daughter, took some short footage of each of them, so I thought it would be fun to have an album with each of the song names as the titles. So I've just chosen 4 photos and printed them out onto a 4x6 photo paper, so they're 2x3 each, and you can see I'm just matting these onto some white cardstock. I've chosen Spectrum Gardenia from 49er Market to document these photos. I did actually use that for the last set of photos that I documented as well, but I focused in on the oranges because, as you can see, the colours of the screen that the photos were taken from are very orange. But because I'm documenting his song Zanzibar, I decided that I wanted to use some bright tropical colours. So I've gone for one of the pattern papers with all of the spectrum of colours across the background. So just trimming these photos down just so that I've got a little white edge around each of them, and it just makes them a little bit larger because they are very small to add to this layout. And I'm going to be creating a vertical layout, which is my favourite way to create layouts. You can see I've pulled out one of the film strips from the collection there, and that's going to work as my base that I can work around. At the beginning, I thought I was going to add these photos to the right-hand side of the layout, but when I look at the way he's looking, in 3 out of the 4, he's looking off to the right. So I do decide to move these over to the left shortly. In the meantime, though, I'm just pulling out some of the scraps that I've got of some of the papers. These might be 6x8 or they might be 12x12. I've got both in this collection. And I'm just matting the photos onto those. I've chosen the fairly plain colours, so the pinks and purples, but that don't have too much variation in the background. It's just going as a border around the edge, so it's not too critical which colours I choose. But at this point, I'm trying to choose the colours that the photos will be sitting on. So the purples for the 2 on the left, and then the blues for the 2 on the right. But they move anyway, So as I say, just trimming all these down. I love this trimmer. If you haven't got one, have a look at the Tim Holtz Tonic Studios guillotines. This is the 8.5-inch one. So I can use it for most work apart from cutting up the 12x12 papers. And it's absolutely brilliant, really precise, really sharp, crisp edges. So I can highly recommend that. So this is the last one now. And off camera, I will take all of these and distress the edges using my Tim Holtz edge distresser. I don't do it on my desk because it just makes such a mess. It's easier to do it over the bin. Nicole Santos from Because We Love to Scrap taught me that tip. So do go and watch her videos. She's really lovely to watch. So this is where I've just distressed the edges and decide to move it all over to the left. And there's that lovely film strip piece that I'm going to bring in. I also found this kaleidoscope viewfinder. I thought that would work really nicely behind the photos. So I'm showing the pinks and reds because I thought that would work the best. This paper is my absolute favourite, this stripy paper. I love this. There's one in Lakeside as well from Simple Stories, and it's just gorgeous. And I just found this scrap. I've used nearly all of it now, but I found the scrap in my box of papers and thought I would use that as an element. So you saw I've had to tear it in the middle so that it looks like it's longer to stretch from top to bottom. And I've just kept that angle that I've got at the top there. It must have been from when I cut it for a previous piece, but I quite like the shape, so I'm just keeping it as it is. And then that's a branding strip that I've used, that blue piece, to run down the centre. It just sort of creates something for the eye to rest on from top to bottom while I build everything else around it. So I'm going to glue these pieces onto themselves. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to add any mixed media in the background. I don't in the end because it's a busy paper. I did wonder if I was going to add some stamping or splattering, but I don't. But it's good to just glue it all together so I can move it around to check that I'm happy with the final positioning. And I'm not sure at this stage exactly where I'm going with it, so I just want to keep it all as a piece that's manoeuvrable. So I'll have a lot of faffing with the 4 photos. I don't want them to be straight on. I want them to overlap one another. Excuse me. So I'm trying to work out exactly how to position those. And then I bring in my foam pads because I consider raising them up onto foam pads, but I don't even do that in the end. So I've just brought a couple of those stripy pieces in from the ephemera pack. There's a little card that the top left-hand photo is resting on. Again, it has that black and white stripe. And then on the bottom, a little tag that's the same. It's got that lovely black and white stripe at the bottom. And then I just have the tag hole poking out of the bottom, and I shall add some wax twine to that just to bring in a different texture onto the layout. So just gluing all this down. And I don't know what happens, but somehow that bottom photo shifts a bit and goes over the tag hole. So what you'll see in a minute, I do have to pull that up and move it around a bit. I think I'm really careful when I'm lifting things up to glue them, but clearly not. It doesn't always work. So just having to play with that viewfinder, I was thinking of moving it up a bit, but decide that it's going to go on the right-hand side there. So I chop it in half because the other half is going to be hidden. So I've got that to use another day with the cool tones on it. So just tucking that behind those two photos. And this is where I see that that tag hole's been covered. So just pulling up that photo and repositioning it. It makes a bit of a mess of the tag, but it's fine because it's going to be covered again. I'm just having to move that photo up ever so slightly. So nearly there. Like I say, it's a lot of fiddling and faffing to get the photos just where I want them to be. But that's pretty much it. So now I'm coming in one of our printables from Hey Little Magpie. These are on the website and they're designed to coordinate with the collection. And it's full of labels and little circle elements. Perfect for adding as little ephemera pieces. So I just wanted to bring the red down to the bottom of the page there because I've got it at the top in the paper and also in that viewfinder. So just tucking that in at the bottom there. And then I find this lovely little pink tab which I'm going to add my date to. And then this word piece says, "This is happy." And Amelia was so happy. It was her first concert ever. And wow, what a concert to go to. It was amazing, an outdoor concert in Hyde Park in London. So just tucking that in under there, again having to pull up that blue strip because I'd already glued it down. So I just trim a little bit of excess off that tab to make it easier to tuck in under these pieces. And that just nestles in neatly there. And I wanted it to go down far enough that you still saw some of that black and white stripy paper, but that you could still read the words as well. So now gluing that square down. And it's really starting to shape, you can see, but I'm not finished yet. I find this little tag that says joyful, and I really like that. And undecided at this point where to put it, but decided it should go on the right hand side there. So just tucking it underneath that stripy paper, and it just nestles in really nicely up there. And again, it's a good opportunity to add some more wax twine, just to add some texture and flow to the page. And then that notebook piece I think is from the laser cut ephemera, and that just tucks nicely underneath that top right hand photo, just building up the shape, trying to keep it more or less as it is, and adding little bits and pieces. So I grabbed this canvas flare badge from Hey Little Magpie. It's a little doodled heart in yellow, and then I'm just going to add some black tangled thread behind it. So just sticking the flare badge to the thread and then adding some more glue to stick that to the page. And that just tucks in neatly under that corner there. And again, it's just bringing in a different height and different texture. So now I'm ready to glue these bits down and get everything stuck down, and then I shall finish embellishing. It's nearly there now, but there are a few more bits that I want to add, and of course the title. So just getting that all stuck down, ever so slightly offset against the side edge. You can see it just turns in a bit at the bottom. And then I just find these scraps of card on my desk of pattern paper. And if you've watched me before, you'll know that I can't bear to leave any scraps. So I'm just tucking those in where they fit. And if I put something at the top, I'll try and mirror it at the bottom just to keep the balance. So that was a little pink strip at the top, so a little blue, lilac at the bottom. And then I find this blue piece. So just trimming that down, and then I'll cut that in half and have half at the top and half at the bottom. And that just adds some really nice layers to the top and bottom of this cluster. And it sort of pads it out as well. I felt the gap between that joyful tag and the black and white striped paper and the blue strip was just a little bit too bare. So it's nice just to be able to build that up a little bit. So just having a little think about what I can do. I want to add some more tangle thread to the bottom because I've got it at the top left. So I'm going to just tuck it under the bottom right where that little label, red label is. And again, it's just bringing a little bit of texture in and mirroring what I've done at the top there. So now to add my date before I forget. So that's going onto that tab at the top left. It was the 7th of July this year. Probably should have done that before I stuck the tag down, but I wasn't really thinking. And now I've brought in my T-square ruler and my Jane alphabet stamps from Ellie's studio to create the title. And the title, as I mentioned, is going to be Zanzibar because that's where he was singing when Amelia took this roll of film and I took the screenshots from. So obviously you only have one of each letter, so I'm just positioning everything and then moving the A and the Z across just to check where everything is, and then I shall stamp everything that I can all at once and leave out the second Z and A and then come back with that. So here I am with my stamp block, just picking up all those letters. And this is the first time I've used these particular letters, so I just stamped them a couple of times on some scrap card, you can see at the bottom there, just to prime them ready to stamp on my layout. And then I just keep my ruler there to check that I'm going to be straight before I move it away, just to stamp those. And then I add some really good pressure. I stand up and make sure that, you can see me probably standing up there, make sure that it's really well pressed down. And I love the effect that you get different shades of the black there. So now coming in with the individual letters. So first of all the A, and then I'll do the Z. And that completes that part of the title. And it looks very blank around it, so I'm just trying to build up now underneath it to make it part of the layout rather than just hanging out on its own. So first of all, I had this strip just hanging out on my desk. I must have missed it when I was clearing up, that says A Ray of Sunshine is from the ephemera pack. So I had that underneath, and then I pull out the 12 by 12 word rub-ons and just pull out some of these little chevrons. I love these. There are plenty of them on the sheet, so I'm not afraid to use them. And then I find one of the quotes, and this one says awesome. So I just thought that would be really nice. And it's like a dictionary definition of the word. And that just fills in that little bottom piece really beautifully. So now I'm adding the twine while I think about what else to do. So just some orange that I'll tie in a bow at the bottom, and then that same orange that I'm going to add to that tag at the top, and just let it flow down the layout. I'll just add a staple at the top to keep it in place. I'll tuck it underneath that viewfinder to trail down to the bottom there. So here I am with my stapler. Now ordinarily I would have added 2 staples, but this stapler's run out. So it was just one today. And then I looked through the words on this rub-on sheet, and I found the word hello, and I just think that will fill in that gap above the word Zanzibar really nicely and tie everything together. So I'm just going to rub that down above the title, just moving that thread out of the way so I can get it rubbed down. And then I'm looking and deciding what else I want to do. And I've got some beautiful black sequins, some are matte and some are almost like a wet oil on water look. So I'm just adding some of those to scatter them around rather than splattering black paint. I thought this is a bit more controlled. So I'm adding some black sequins, and then I'm going to add some black Nouveau crystal drops just to finish it off. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining me. You will see in the close-ups at the very end that I have added a couple of tickets on that film strip piece, top and bottom. They were just on my desk and I saw them and I thought they would add something, so they go on as well, but I did that off camera. Please do check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in on this fabulous hop. Thank you to the Scrappy sisters and Laura Alberts who are organising this. It's great to have these prompts. It really does inspire me every day, and I shall see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Bye.